All right, welcome back. Let's talk about the trouble with schools and the backlash against critical race theory. CNN reporting that school board groups are asking now for federal help to stop threats and violence that they are worried about as it relates to debates on COVID and critical race theory. The threat, parents protesting school boards. Here is a clip CNN put out there of some of those alleged threats.
I'm gonna come for everybody that comes at my kid with this stupid, ridiculous mandate.
We are the storm, and we are here already. And when this whole thing crumbles to the ground, we will be here to hold you accountable for your crimes against humanity.
Well, folks are fired up. Let's welcome in now host of Stacy on the Right on Sirius XM, the co-chair of Project 21, Stacy Washington. Also with us, host of the Dan O'Donnell Show on News Talk 1130 in Milwaukee. Dan O'Donnell and Ari Hoffman, host of the Ari Hoffman Show on 570 KVI in Seattle. You guys may have noticed the little graphic there on the bottom of the screen when we were playing that video. We'll put it up there again. But CNN was using schools beg Biden FBI for protection against angry mobs. And they, of course, they cherry-picked these quotes from the school board meeting, Stacy, because what I've seen more than some of these are really concerned parents about what's happening to kids, about some of the stuff that's getting folded into these curriculums, and really the way the kids are being treated as pawns in this game.
So, this reminds me of back when I was an elected school board member. I served as director, secretary, and vice president of our kids' local school board of education. I was first appointed to that role, and then I served as an elected member. And I can tell you, there's nothing more volatile than dealing with people's money and their kids. So take those two items, the things that people you have to work really hard to earn money to take care of your kids. And your children, you're entrusting them to the school district to teach them not to indoctrinate them. So, of course, parents are irate. Their children are being taught pornography. Their children are being taught victimhood and bastardized U.S. history. It's not our actual history. So they're coming in and they're irate. And instead of the school board members responding to the concerns of these parents, they're lawyering up. The School Board Association, 90,000 members, that's not every school board in the country, but it represents a huge chunk. And those people should be responding to the needs of their constituents. So school board members are elected, and they should be responding, not lawyering up or seeking to have these people punished. That's why people are so angry. Their needs are not being addressed. They're not being responded to. The answer here is for them to respond instead of getting upset and trying to sue the parents.
Yeah, God forbid they would exercise a little reflection, some self-reflection here on what's actually happening, why these parents might be upset. And again, we don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form. We don't condone threats either. But I think what is apparent here is the parents are activated by all this. Let's also play a clip here. Here's from the National School Boards Association, the president of that organization, what they had to say in response to CNN.
These are real threats, Brianna, that you just saw, that we all just saw, and they're occurring with greater frequency. So our letter to the White House really is indicative of the seriousness of the situation for school board members, but more especially for students in our public schools.
Antagonizing people, these threats of violence, again, it is serious. But, Dan, we just saw Joe Biden kind of laugh off the idea of Kristen Sinema getting followed into the women's restroom as Arizona State University, when it's not something that's affecting them personally, they don't seem to care as much. But when it does affect them, they're so concerned about the potential for violence.
These are the same people who are on social media making jokes about Rand Paul getting viciously beaten by his neighbor. And I'm glad that you brought up the Kyrsten Sinema comparison, John, because we, out of one side of our mouth, talk about a need to return to decency and civility in politics, but the other says that a senator can't use the restroom without an angry horde following her. Look, there's not a person alive who would condone any sort of threats of violence against school board members, but let's not confuse passionate speeches with the sort of thuggish behavior that we've seen from the left for years now. Remember the kids in cages controversy of a couple of years ago when Maxine Waters got up and said, get in people's faces. Don't let any member of the Trump administration go to a gas station or a restaurant, get in their face. This is an active, ongoing strategy being employed by the left, and they don't like it when a few parents get up and give angry speeches at a school board meeting. Give me a break.
I know. And the other thing, too, is we do see effective ways where state governments are pushing back. We go to North Carolina. The Johnston County, North Carolina School Board has just passed a policy preventing critical race theory in its classrooms after county commissioners threatened to withhold nearly $8 million in funding from the school district. The new policy would require teachers to be disciplined or fired if they teach that American historical figures weren't heroes, undermine the U.S. Constitution in lessons, or describe racism as a permanent part of American life. And now, Stacy, folks, or Ari, to you on this one, this is what you're seeing now. You have school boards that get elected, and then you have the groups that fund them. In this case, the county commissioners saying, no, we're going to make sure this doesn't happen in our district.
Well, for so long, these schools could do whatever they want without the parents actually knowing what was going on. But then as soon as you plop these kids right down the living room, all of a sudden the parents hearing everything the kids are being taught. And I know here in Seattle, a lot of parents sent me recordings of teachers that were telling kids to go to riots, to go to Antifa, BLM events and riots and such. And we have an autonomous zone here. And yet you don't hear any pushback against that except from these parents. Where were the boards back then? Yes, 100% we should be looking into what's going on, because now people have woken up to what's going on in the public school system. I don't know why it's a surprise that they were indoctrination centers. We've been talking about this for years. But also there's a missed opportunity on the Republican side where they should have said, you know what, if you don't want to open the schools because of COVID, then we're taking the funding and we're giving it to scholarships for private schools, we're giving it to charter schools, whatever the case may be, and you don't get that funding anymore.
Yeah, one of the things I started to focus on, too, is this alignment, the realignment that's happening across the country. It's geographical, it's political, and this is one of those things, Stacy, that is causing a political realignment. It's school choice. It's parents wanting more, options when it comes to where their kids go and how their tax dollars are spent by these elected officials.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of really people that I respect talking about get into a red state, get into a red area, do it now before there's no room left for you there. Do it now before, you can't move. If you're moving because of work, move to an area that is a red area so that you can have more freedom for your kids. But I've advocated for this, as Ari just said, for over a decade now. As a parent, it is your God-given right and responsibility to oversee the education of your children. And if you feel the people who are doing that are doing a bad job, get irate. There's nothing wrong with an angry speech. But at some point, you have to make a decision, and pulling the child, because the funding does kind of go with the child. The average daily attendance rate is basically how many butts are in the seats over a 30-day period. The average of that's where the federal funding comes from. Show these people you mean business. After you've given your speech, the school board says they're going to send the FBI after you. Not if your kid's not in the district. Take the kids out. When they see 30 to 40% of the people leave, they'll decide to change.
Right. This is the left's response to so many things now. If they actually get backed into a corner on the debate, on the actual policy, they are quick to throw up their hands. Oh, we're being threatened. The other side is racist, and they just want to hurt us. That's really all they want to do. But that is not the case. The vast majority of these parents really just want to see their kids get a good education. Dan, Ari, Stacy, thanks so much. It's always great to talk to all of you, and we look forward to the next time. Thanks so much.